Okay, let's get the trigger warning out of the way. This is another one of those poxy fan cams, guys. So if this is not your cup of Tetley, do yourself a favour and move on. If you're still watching it from this point on, then I'm guessing you probably don't mind the old fan cams. So let's get stuck into it. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Gatesy. I am on another West Ham fan YouTube channel called the West Ham Massive. The guys will probably put a link in the description below. And if any of you guys think that I'm vaguely entertaining or informative, then please feel free to pop over and give us your support and bump up the old subscriber numbers. Don't forget to drop a like on this stream. Don't forget to subscribe to Hammers Chat. And if you like what the boys do, maybe consider going over to their Patreon channel and giving them your support on there. It's a paid service, but it's the price of a cup of coffee a week. It's really not that much. And occasionally I pop up on there with a couple of familiar faces. So let's get stuck into it, guys, and get your comments in the section below. So there's a lot to unpack here. We've obviously just come off the back of a pretty embarrassing defeat at home to Tottenham Hotspur. The first thing that I want to get out there, the first thing that I noticed, and I'm sure you guys noticed, the glaring omission of a striker in our starting lineup. I mean, what was Graham Potter thinking? Why on earth did he do that? I could have kind of understood it maybe if we was struggling in that department in terms of injuries and all the rest of it. We had two of them sitting on the bench. And I know that people are going to turn around and say that they're two injury-prone strikers. And Nicholas Füllkrug, there was reports that he'd had a calf injury, which forced him to miss out on a Germany match in the international. He was fit enough to be on the bench. So if he's fit enough to be on the bench, then as far as I'm concerned, he's fit enough to play. He's fit enough to start. And even if you maybe had this thing of maybe sort of starting one and bringing the other one off on in the second half, whatever, whether you played 60 minutes, 30 minutes, or whether they played 45 each, whatever, you could sort of split it up and at least you've got a presence up front. Instead, we had this really weird situation where our most influential playmaking player, who just come off the back of a really good performance away at Nottingham Forest and has been our star player this season, let's have it right, you're playing him as your striker. Not really getting the best out of him. Square peg, round hole. Okay, but we start the game, and I actually think probably for about the first 20 minutes or so, I think we looked okay. Nothing earth-shattering. It's not like we were forcing Vicario into sort of full-length saves or anything like that. We was not making Romero and Van der Ven really have to sort of work hard to keep us at bay. Nothing like that. But we was doing all right. I thought that the attacks were coming down the left-hand side quite effectively. Diouf, who the first couple of games, I was a little bit concerned that maybe a lot of the noise that he was getting a good delivery into players in pre-season, it didn't quite happen in the first two games against Sunderland and Chelsea. And I was a bit concerned that maybe it was a little bit, the Premier League was maybe a step up. Actually, in the first 20 minutes of that game, I thought he was getting forward to good effect and playing in some dangerous balls. The problem is, because we don't have a striker in there, we weren't capitalizing on those balls. And that again was a frustration. Now, the goal that was chalked off for Spurs, very, very soft. I think that probably most reasonable West Ham fans would admit that, and that would say that we should have probably gone in at halftime 1-0 down. We didn't. So we kind of got away with that one. And you're sort of, again, still sitting there, and I was sitting there and still saying to myself, okay, look, Graham Potter's made the call, halftime. Offensively, we've really not offered that much. Probably from about 20 minutes onwards, definitely, it was all Tottenham. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, get a striker on, Graham. Get a striker on. Half-time, get a striker on. Put a presence up front. Look like you're trying to do something. Comes out at half-time, there's no change. Well, there was quickly a change after the referee blew his whistle, mind. And that change was a corner at Tottenham gets put in the box. Now, Mads Hermansen, the elephant in the room, Mads Hermansen, the 6'2" Oompa Loompa, getting dominated again in his 6-yard box from a corner. Our defenders are absolutely they must be bricking it. Anytime there's a ball played into this geezer with his T-Rex arms, must be absolutely petrified. That is just unacceptable. The way this guy gets completely done at corners. Watch it. Go back and watch. This guy is getting absolutely bullied by players. They're absolutely tearing him a new one. Ball gets played in. I mean, the way that he sort of flaps at the header, it's completely embarrassing as a top level goalkeeper. We have purchased, little fact for you, we have spent 15, 20 million, depending upon the sums that you've heard bandied about. We have spent 15, 20 million quid on a goalkeeper that has, for anyone that's played at least 20 Premier League games, he has had the second lowest clean sheet percentage of any goalkeeper in the Premier League. Actually, I think he may now be the worst, because the only person that was worse than him in terms of that particular statistic was a guy that we've just let go, Wes Fotheringham. Brilliant. Fantastic recruitment, West Ham. Why don't we look at this stuff before we shell out money on people? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then Souček. Souček's actually played well. Okay, I'll give him that. He worked hard, and I think that from a defensive point of view, he actually did really well. Offensively, less so. But then again, he wasn't the only one as far as that's concerned. He's bad touch. He tries to retrieve the situation. He's not quick enough. It's a definite red card. Shocker. Absolute shocker. I actually think, though, that this red card is going to be used as a bit of a safety blanket, a little bit of leverage to Graham Potter's advantage by people that want to try and defend him, likes of Karen Brady, who, let's not forget, this is her mate. This is the one that she wanted in the door. And I know you could turn around and maybe say that maybe let Sullivan off the hook. No, absolutely not. Sullivan, that he employs Karen Brady. He's allowed her to make this choice as manager. It's the wrong choice. I think we're beginning to come to that realization that Graham Potter is out of his depth. Out of his depth as a Premier League manager for a club the size, the stature of West Ham United. Absolutely, completely out of his depth. But Sullivan has allowed Brady to make this call. He's been convinced by Brady to make this call. Absolutely the wrong call. So, yes, Brady's put Potter in charge, but Sullivan allowed it. Sullivan rubber stamped it. This is coming back to Sullivan. But anyway, I think that red card is possibly going to be used as a little bit of an excuse for the 3-0 reverse against Tottenham Hotspur at home, our biggest Premier League rivals. The red card will absolutely be used as some sort of protection for Graham Potter. But then even from that point on, I still think even if we'd have been at 11 men, we'd have still been rinsed. But the second goal is just we've absolutely fallen asleep. Again, unacceptable. I think that the goalkeeper, with his T-Rex hands and his feeble jumping at 5'2", whatever he is, he was never going to get that ball. Put Fabianski in goal, put Areola in goal, put me in goal. I probably stood a better chance of getting that. I actually do believe that Fabianski at some point this season could be our number one. It's very likely going to be our number one, even if it's only for a sort of like a half a dozen games or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if Fabianski is going to be our number one goalkeeper for a period of time this season. Whether that's because of an injury or because Graham Potter finally wakes up, or whoever replaces him, because that's always possible, comes to the realization that Mads Hermansen just isn't up to the mark. He needs to be put on the bench. He needs to be taken out of the firing line. That second goal was an embarrassment as well. Third goal from Mickey van der Ven was kind of incidental. By that time, the game's done. And they were playing with us, right? For the last half hour of that game, it could have been worse than 3-0. The only reason it wasn't is because they went, the job's done. They're down to 10 men. We're 3 goals up. We can kind of have a little bit of fun. We can keep them at arm's length. We can conserve our energy, not risk any injuries, all of those things. They're completely sensible. They just kept us at arm's length and just toyed with us. There was nothing we could do. And it was 68 minutes before Graham Potter finally brings a striker on. What's the point? There's no point at that moment in time. We're 3-0 down. We're down to 10 men. The stands are half empty. I was outnumbered by the time that final whistle went, and I always stay to the last in a game. I will not go. 6-0 down we were in that Arsenal game, and I was still in the stadium watching it unfold before my very eyes. I'm one of those nutcases. So I was in the stadium when that final whistle went. I was outnumbered, not just by Spurs fans, but by empty seats. Empty seats. That's how demoralised our fan base is. Absolutely, just totally wound up, fed up. I don't want to swear, but I'm finding it very hard to keep a lot of this emotion with a lid on it. I don't want to come on to the Hammers chat, the boys, and let them down by just turning it into a swear fest. But I'm finding it quite difficult to keep my cool with what I witnessed yesterday. Just absolutely embarrassing. And here's another embarrassing stat for you. We've played 2 home London derbies. And if you take Thomas Souček's red card out of the equation, not one single yellow card. 2 London derbies. That's unacceptable. That there feeds into the narrative that we have got a team full of pussies. We've got a team full of nice guys. We've got a team that no leaders, no characters, no one that when the brown stuff is hitting the fan, we haven't got anyone that's prepared to get their hands dirty. We go 1-0 down. The game's over at that point with this team. We just disappear. We just haven't got anyone with the mentality of a Billy Bonds, of an Alvin Martin, of a Julian Dix. Name any a captain worth their salt. Those sort of characters that when we go 1-0 down and we're not playing well, those sort of guys that are going to get the team in at halftime and say, listen, there's all these people that have come to watch us. They've paid good money. They've given up time. They've come here to watch us. And we're playing like an absolute bunch of chumps. This ain't acceptable. We need to go out there and we need to go out and we need to show them that this name that's on this badge here is infinitely more important than the badge on the shirt because we're playing like it's the other way round. This ain't acceptable. We ain't got anyone in that changing room that's going to do that. We haven't. We've just got a bunch of prima donnas. We've got a bunch of nice guys. And the worst part about it is we've got a coach that's completely, absolutely clueless, doesn't have a clue what to do. Starts without a striker, brings a striker on when the game is dead and buried. And the really sad part about it is that with the current incumbent in charge up at the top, Mr. Sullivan, is you know that if and when he pulls the trigger on this guy, he's only going to replace him with another one that's exactly like him. He's going to replace him with a currently out of work manager who's going to be grateful for the opportunity. I mean, I'm looking at a list here of coaches and I just sort of go, and the first one at the top of the list, I'm on Transfer Market right now, and the first name that's at the top of this list, and it would be such a Sullivan one to go for, Graham Potter. He's the one that's in charge. We're trying to get rid of him. Begins with a G. Gareth Southgate. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to people that are going to try and defend him and say, well, he didn't do too bad at England. And I accept that. But the last time he was Premier League manager, he managed to get Middlesbrough relegated. That's his Premier League experience. He's not exactly got a great pedigree as a club manager. And there's other names that are just completely unrealistic. I mean, people say about Jose Mourinho, and his football wouldn't be very entertaining, I guess. But he would at least manage to get our lot to defend, which is something they can't do. But can you honestly see Sullivan going for someone with the pedigree, with the stature, with the personality of Jose Mourinho? I can't. Absolutely not. There's no way that he would. And it just beggars belief. We're going to end up there if they're going to get rid of Potter. You know what's going to happen. They're going to get rid of Potter. They're possibly going to replace him with Nuno, who's basically a Portuguese version of Moyes. And we wanted Moyes out, but he would replace him with a Portuguese version of Moyes. We would replace him with Sean Dyche. You know the type of names we're going to be linked with. If he had any bottle, Sullivan, he'd go to Bournemouth and he'd say, name your price. Anthony Iraola, what is it going to take? What money do I have to hand over to you to get your manager? He won't do it because he's a tight ass. He's not going to do it. But anyway, that's just my 2 penneth. I mean, look, I'm having a little bit of a foam at the mouth session. It's a little bit cathartic for me. But That's just my thoughts on it, guys. I dare say there's things in amongst what I've said that you maybe are on board with. There's probably things that you think are a little bit out of whack with what you think. And you've got a comment section below either way. Just get stuck into it. Make sure you've dropped a like on this stream. Make sure you subscribe to Hammers Chat. Do yourself a favor and have a little look at their Patreon channel. As I say, it's really great value for money and it helps the boys to do this as a full-time occupation. And if you could pop along to my West Ham YouTube channel called the West Ham Massive. And as I say, I'll ask the guys to put a link in the description below. I really would appreciate your support and getting the numbers up on there. And as I say, look, hopefully this improves from here. I mean, it couldn't get much bloody worse, could it? But hopefully there's some positive movement. But listen, at the minute, I'm not overly hopeful that in the next game against Crystal Palace, it's going to be significantly better than that. But there you go. What can you do? Anyway, keep the faith, guys. Stay safe. Come on, you Irons.